Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Season 8 of Stand Up and Stand Out para te y desticate. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Nikki Green. Throughout the past 8 seasons, we have worked to showcase some incredible guests with eclectic backgrounds so you can see that success comes in many shapes and sizes. On our path to episode 100, we have some new inspiring interviews to celebrate this important milestone of our podcast. As I add retreats into my coaching program, I'm looking forward to meeting more of you in person and connecting with you beyond the podcast. I hope you enjoy Season 8, and I look forward to hearing your feedback and comments on the fascinating topics we will cover with each new guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Stand Up and Stand Out para te y desticate. We are in Season 8. Can you believe it? And we are about to hit our 100th episode. I'm super excited and just never really envisioned this happening. Just sort of started the podcast like many people because I had a lot of time in the pandemic. And then as I kept evaluating each season, I just said, man, this is a lot of fun, and I have a great team behind me supporting making the show happen every week. As we get ready for Season 8 and this big milestone in our podcast, I thought let's talk to some of our guests about milestones in their career, in their business, in their life, and what kind of celebrations they had, but also what impacted you about those milestones. Why were they so significant? Because sometimes they're not the things we expect. So I thought we'd share some of those stories with you. So today will be a solo episode, and I'll be sharing a little bit of my journey and some thoughts on some big milestones for myself. Today is also my mom's 70th birthday, so that's a big milestone. And I just want to say, hi, Mom. I love you, and thank you so much for all you've done to support me throughout the years and all my crazy adventures that I've gotten up to. So I hope you're having an awesome day back home, and you're celebrating with your friends there. We're more than halfway through 2024. And one of the big goals that I set for myself this year as I sat down wasn't just about the business. One thing I realized, and I definitely saw it with many of the other people that I was working with, is my health had taken a back seat. And, part of it was kind of being locked in the house, and part of it was just getting out of the rhythm of fitness. And so one of my big goals was getting back into fitness. And what does that really look like for me now? I've done a lot of crazy things in my life. From the very first day I started tumbling, I was in the gym doing gymnastics, then moved on to volleyball, and then into endurance sports. You guys have heard some of those stories either through the podcast or in my books. So this year, as I started the year, I said, I need a big goal. I need something to really push me again and get me back into not just the physical, work, the physical shape that I wanted to be in, but also the mental shape that I needed to get back into to really find myself a little bit. I've done so much transformation over the last few years that it was kind of like, maybe I need to pull back a little bit and remember some of the good things that were in my previous version of myself. So I set a goal to run my 29th half marathon this past May. So that's pretty crazy when I really sat down to count up. Well, it's just another one. But how many was it really? 29. That's a little bit nuts, but in a good way. And you guys know, if you guys have seen, my posts on social media, that behind this camera are all of my medals. They are on the walls around my office to remind me of all those difficult things that I've done and trained for. Now, the challenge, like many of us through the pandemic, of just sitting in the house and close access to food and not enough exercise, it really wasn't my best race. But it's not a point to really critique on that aspect. Sure, it was my slowest, but it really wasn't my hardest when I thought about it. Like mentally, I had had much tougher races for lots of different reasons. And it was a really big milestone for me this year to not just, go and do the race, which is kind of what everybody else thinks of as, I accomplished the goal. The real goal is, can I every week get out there and train? Every week, can I push myself a little bit further? Starting all the way in December, sort of right before Christmas, all the way through May, 6 months of repeating those activities, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's snowing here in Chicago, or on the other side, when it started getting way too hot.
Like, how do you really keep that resilience happening when you would much rather, go hang out and have a beer with your friends or watch a game, and just chill out? And one of the big things I started to do too is compare myself to the last time I ran a half marathon, which was in 2019. Not only did I ran two half marathons in 2019 and a full that year. I was in the best shape of a decade, thanks to great trainers that I had downtown Chicago at my gym, as well as just time to focus on myself. And it takes that a lot of times in order for us to accomplish these big goals is you kind of have to push aside some of these other things that are distracting us in order to make sure that that goal happens. And, my big goal for 2020 had been to get back into triathlons. And I was super excited. I actually did a race on March 9th, 2020. I did an indoor triathlon and I was so excited for the year ahead. And so I think there was all this buildup, like many of us, and just things did not come together. And it's taken a while to get back on track. So as I thought about this goal of getting back to fitness, I realized it's just not going to happen overnight. I spent 4 years kind of getting to where I am right now. And my life is very different than it was then. So it's not going to be an automatic overnight. Everything's just snapped back into the way it was. And so, what does a journey back to fitness look like? It's also, how old am I? And again, not making excuses for getting older because I've met some people who are older than me and who rock marathons, triathlon. I've seen them do incredible feats. So there is no limit. And with the Olympics going on right now, I'm sure you can see athletes of all abilities doing some incredible stuff. But you just don't recover as well. Your nutrition is more important. Your recovery time is more important. And so you have to be a lot smarter. When you're in your 20s, your 30s, and yeah, even as a kid when I was training, you could go out, fall, hurt yourself, push yourself too hard. And in about 24 to 48 hours, you're snapped back and ready to go. So how do we kind of combine these things? I can no longer singularly focus on myself. I need to find some level of guidelines, right? Of when is me time and when can I not, miss that important times with my friends and family. And how do I make sure that I'm more structured in achieving those goals? So that way there is no like, oh, well, I'm just too tired or I didn't recover well enough. We have to pay attention to all those aspects, including nutrition. It's been a really interesting journey, definitely harder than I thought it was going to be, but I think it's been a really good lesson for me and something that's enabled me to help my clients better as well. So as soon as I finished that program, I had the incredible opportunity to begin training with a former Olympic athlete, with some other amazing entrepreneurs through a program called Wired to Win. And it's been incredible because, again, who you surround yourself with is what helps you achieve those goals. Even though I talk about being singularly focused when I did a lot of this training, that meant I kind of pushed away friends, family, distractions, going out to party and, happy hours and things like that. But I wasn't actually alone. I joined running clubs. I joined triathlon clubs. I found people that liked doing the things I liked to do so that when I did have to go do those trainings that I just did not want to get out there to do, I had other people to kind of talk to me, cheer me on. And such a big part of how I run Green Chameleon Collective is that community spirit helps us through those highs and lows of whatever we're trying to push ourselves to do. So as I said, it's my mom's birthday, and my mom really was the first person who taught me about sport. She was a collegiate gymnast at the University of Nevada, Reno. But aside from that, she was also training to be a teacher. And a lot of her teaching, was around sports as well as obviously other parts of education. Not only were we tumbling in the gym, but every time we did stuff, it was active. And so I took a lot of that, especially this summer as the kids are out. What can we do to just generally be more active as a family? So that, again, our focus is generally on fitness and feeling well and making better choices rather than, oh, I've got to go hit the gym. I've got to go do a 10-mile run. I've got to do these hard things. That progressively working on the yard and going for a bike ride on the path is equally as important as some of those other things. And also not having to fully sacrifice the time with the family and making sure everybody's getting a little bit healthier together. So it's been really fun because Now it's, I think, incredibly important and definitely something I've learned from my brother and his wife of how you make sure that we're happy and fit as a family. How do we make it that it isn't these sacrifices? It isn't, oh, you go do this and we just sit around and watch, that we all incorporate fitness as best we can into each other's activities. And so I think it's great and something I really want to start incorporating more into my general coaching. And we'll talk a little bit about that. One of the things I really like about endurance sports is they quote this often: you are getting to be on a playing field equal with those elite athletes. And very few times does that happen. Usually, if you play Little League baseball, you're not going to be playing on the same field as the big leagues. But endurance sports allows you to do that. You are side by side. Okay, you're front to back because they're way ahead of you. But it still gives you this feeling of, I'm doing something big, something that only a handful of people do. And many of us, that is the same for our business. The thing we're trying to do is very different. And I know a lot of us right now are a bit discouraged too. Economically, things are a bit challenging. Our businesses aren't coming together as quickly as we want them to. And so we see some of these elite entrepreneurs around us, and we're like, man, but they're leaving me in the dust. So how do we get some of this mindset training and find those important milestones, those important moments where we can really celebrate what we have accomplished and how we convert that into the next win, the next win, the next win. The Olympics too, right now, I think are really giving me this mindset about how do you set these really big goals. I mean, doing a marathon and is like 1% of the population, right? That does something like that. But going to the Olympics, you're like a percentage of the people that get to do that. And some of these folks are going out there and doing it multiple times. One of the other things I've been doing this summer, which again has just been a fun way for me to, add on to my business, as well as remember some of the bits and pieces of myself that I really enjoyed doing. And I talk a little bit about it in my first book, I Laugh in the Face of Danger, is that I played volleyball. So from kind of middle school, high school, and then into college, I played. But I don't think I mentioned to a lot of people that I also coached for several years too. So when I finished school with my MBA, it was a recession. Most of my friends were getting laid off, and I was part-time employed at an insurance office, but I really couldn't find full-time work in Silicon Valley. And so I got a job coaching volleyball. I was like, that is absolutely a skill I have. I've been playing for a decade. I can show some other kids how to do it. And it was an important thing for me at that point in my career as a milestone, not because, what I didn't think of it as was a setback. I didn't think of like, man, I see my friends getting these jobs in Silicon Valley. I also saw them getting laid off a few months later. And mentally, that was very difficult for them to be in this start and stop mode for really a couple of years after that Y2K bubble. For me, I actually got a better solid footing. I went to work every day and I had fun. I got exercise. I moved around and I got to, think strategically about how to coach versus how to be a player, and really started me down this path of wanting to do more coaching, how to be a leader, how to help others. And so I really loved it. And that's what I'm doing this year. I happened to find right here in our town a great volleyball gym. And I had the opportunity to go back to do some volleyball coaching. And it once again kind of reinvigorated me and reminded me there are so many skills that we have that we kind of forget that we even have them. Even though, I may not be as fast, as I was before, I can still do all those things. The muscle memory is still there. I still know how to teach other people to do them. And so it's been a great addition back to my business to just remember some of those things that were comfortable for me, but stretch myself in a new way. So what does that look like for me as I, look back at these important milestones and how critical fitness has always been to my mindset, to me achieving other goals in my business, in my life, to being able to travel all around the globe. And, I've raced everywhere from Singapore to Brazil to Paris, as well as all over the United States. And it's something I want to continue doing, not just for myself, but for my clients. And so I started thinking about, well, how could I incorporate these things together? And so, talking with some of my clients and talking with some other entrepreneurs as I was going to different events and things, I said, you know what, as I hit this milestone of 4 years in my business, I want to kind of add on a service and do a little bit of a pivot because I don't like that I just sit here on Zoom. And I don't think most of us do either. It's a very hard way to stay motivated. And it always has been throughout my career. The way I got motivated is I left the office. I traveled to other offices. I met people in person. I, had dinner with their families, watched their kids play t-ball, whatever all the things were. It was to really, really connect with the community and continue to do those big things. And so, what could that look like now with my clients? So, you guys know one of the big business goals I had for 2024 is to be adding on in person retreats. And these retreats have been their own challenge. As we always know, getting back in person isn't as easy as it used to be. But it's taught me a lot of things about what I want that to look like. And we've been mostly focusing on business foundational skills through these retreats. And that's been fantastic and such a critical piece that I heard all last year in 2023 from people is they want to get back in person, they want to build deeper connections, and they want more than, whatever a Zoom call 1 hour is to work on things. So going deeper on our business, having actually workshop style retreats has been really productive. But not only for my retreat, but also, for other people's that I've attended, the thing I didn't like is once again, we were just sitting still. We're sitting in a room for 8 hours, staring at each other, trying to keep our energy up. And that's pretty tough to do. And I think we have even, sort of less attention spans than we've ever had before. So as I thought about it, I said, well, I'm going to keep, again, doing my selfish bit, which is even we have a break for 15 minutes, I'm going to go for a walk. As long as I can get outside and I have comfortable shoes on, I'm going to go at least tour the parking lot. I'm going to go down the block. I'm going to go get another coffee, whatever all the things are. But I'm going to do that. And if I can, invite somebody with me and get to know them a little bit better. And so as I continue building out the retreats for the rest of 2024 and on to 2025, it's how can I continue to make that a more present piece of what the retreat is about. You guys know, if you listened to the previous episode with Katie, that I had the absolute pleasure of co-coaching at her retreat back in December in Costa Rica. And it really also showed me what is possible and how to focus on mindset when you're pushing people to physically do things they may have not done before. We went surfing, we went hiking up a river, we to a waterfall. We did lots of big things. We went ziplining, right? Which really hits on a lot of your fear points. And that's one thing when you're trying to push yourself to the next level. But again, what I wanted was something a little closer to what my goals were is how do we set regular milestones for our fitness and our business to sustain for the long haul? And so it's going to be an important business as we go into 2025. We're closing out 2024 is I want to bring aspects of fitness to my clients and let's make it a part of every week, every day that we are not only taking care of the health of our business, but how do we stay healthy as entrepreneurs? This came about really importantly, really significantly because we are the only one here. And I started to also realize as entrepreneurs got sick, their business just falls apart. There isn't a lot of sustainable revenue that many of us have right now if we're not physically here running the podcast, speaking on stage, coaching our clients. And so it's really, really critical that as, sort of solo entrepreneurs, that we maintain that health throughout the long haul so that we can keep going, work these incredible hours, balance back time with our family, which is why we're doing this, and stay healthy overall. So if you guys are interested, we'll start dropping some information in the show notes, but also through our email newsletter and social media that this new program is going to be coming out here sort of at the tail end of 2024. And it's going to dovetail into the new retreats. So we're going to have goal races. We're going to start with very simple 5Ks so that anybody can do it, even if you're walking, your dog, your baby stroller, or whatever it might need to be. that we're going to get people moving. And so not only are you going to have these milestones for your business, but you're going to have milestones for your physical health as well. And we're going to kind of mix that into where we'll be meeting out for those retreats. And so we'll do a goal race together. So I'm really excited about that. I know for those of you that have either gone through the Chameleon Mindset coaching or have read the book, much of the mindset work that I do comes from my sports training. So although this is kind of a new addition to the business, it feels like a natural fit and something that as I've talked to people, they are absolutely loving and really want some help on. Like I said, I joined this new fitness group. And one of the things that was really apparent to me is how many people actually don't like fitness, how they've had these really bad experiences, once again, that have kept them from doing new things in fitness because of whatever has happened in their past and their childhood and how they got treated by teachers and all this stuff. So you guys know, I love making business fun. And I love making fitness fun too. So we're going to incorporate these things together. Everybody is going to be welcome at all different levels. And we're going to gradually have other opportunities, to ramp up as we continue on the program. So I'm super excited about this. I am ecstatic about hitting my 100th episode of the podcast. We have some incredible guests, and they're going to talk about some big milestones in their life. And I just can't wait to hear how I can help all of you and what big milestones you guys have been achieving over, not only this year, but, the past. Because celebration is such an important part of us mentally getting through each difficult moment and being ready to prepare for the next. So once again, happy birthday to my mom. I am so proud of all she's accomplished in her life. And so grateful for her just setting the stage for me to accomplish all the things in mine. So I hope you guys are doing well, and can't wait to see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for joining. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, whatever it is on the channel where you're watching, and you'll catch us where all the cool kids hang out that do podcasts.